Hello devs. Okay, so in our last video we successfully set up our 7 projects, and now we're gonna be working directly in this first project. We also install React Router. If you want to verify the installation of React Router, you want to open up your packet.json and head over, scroll down to your dependencies, and you should see React Router done like this. If you did not see it, then you did not successfully install React Router, and you should go over installation again. All right, that will prevent any errors. All right, let's get started. So we're gonna get started by learning about how to configure routes. All right, I'm gonna learn about the browser router. To use React Router, you must wrap your application with the browser router component. This component keeps your UI in sync with the URL. Under the hood, the browser router works with both the history library and React context. The history library helps React Router keep track of the browsing history of the application using the browser built-in history stack, and React context helps make history available wherever React Router needs it. Now, browser router is specific for React and web-based routing, specifically React, right? While the memory router is an alternative to browser router, but that's for React Native, and the static router is an alternative to, browser router, but that's for static HTML routing. All right. So let's talk about routes and route. Route allows you to map your app's location to different React components. Routes, if you have more than one route, you should definitely wrap it in route component. However, for React version 6, just wrap your entire component in routes, whether you have one or not, because there is an actual error that comes with it. The reason for this is because it's route's job to understand all of children's route elements and intelligently choose which ones that are best to render, which is the great thing about React Router, because it's really intelligent. Now let's look at the syntax. As you can see, the route is the parent component, and it's wrapping different route children's components. React Router uses a declarative component-based approach to routing. What that means is when you want to create a new route, you render a route component. Route allows you to map URL paths to different React components. For example, say we wanted to render a dashboard component whenever a user navigates to /dashboard path or URL. To do that, we render a route that looks like this. As you can see, the path is /dashboard, and the element is actually the React component, the dashboard component. All right, let's get started. How to get started configuring our routes, we first of all have to set up our browser router and our entry points of our application. And the entry points of our application for Vite is main.jsx. But if you're using Create React App, that should be index.jsx. So first things first, we import browser router. So we're going to import it, browser router, right? And then that is going to be from React hyphen. Oh, sorry, I misspelled import. Import from React router done. All right. And I'm going to get rid of this React strict mode. Right. And then we're going to wrap this in a browser router component. All right. Now I'm going to drag this guy here. All right. We're successfully done the first step of setup. Now, next thing we want to do is go to our app.jsx, and we're going to clear out this boilerplate code. Right, we're gonna get rid of this use state call right here. All right, and we're gonna get use of all of this, all the import statements, and then I'm gonna leave just the fragments alive, right, for now. And all right, we're good to go from here. So next thing, we're gonna want to set up our routes and route. Now remember, I said the route and route is all linked to a component-based architecture, and so for that extent we have to set up our components. So we're going to set up several components. We're going to set up our, first of all, our home component. This is home.jsx. All right, RAFCE, And then here we're going to write welcome home. And then we're going to set up our dashboard components. So dashboard.jsx. If you're using Create React, this has to be JS. And then we're going to RFCE. And then we're going to say welcome to your dashboard. By the way, if you want to learn how to do the RFCE, it's actually an extension. Let me see if I could show it. It's an extension called ES7 Plus. Okay, so ES7 Plus, you can get one of these ES7 snippets and you should be able to do RFCE. It saves a lot of time. And finally, let's create two more components. Let's create the about.jsx component, which is going to be our about us. About us. Well, can I say we are awesome? Because we are awesome. All right. And then we're going to create our settings. Let's call it settings components. Settings JSX. I just want to go show you different routes, right? And RFCE again. And we're just going to leave settings like this. All right. So let's go back to app.js. And now we're going to map these 4 components to a route. Now, in order to do that, we obviously have to import our routes and our route. Import. Why did I use capital? Import. Route. Route. From React router DOM. All right. Now, please take note. You must always wrap it with the route component. So we're going to get rid of this fragment, and then we're going to wrap our application with the route component first. Then we can begin creating route. Temptation to say routes. We can begin creating a route. Okay. So now we're going to pass in a property, which is the path property. And this path property decides the URL path for application. Now, since this is the first route, we're going to set the URL path for our home. When they go to our local host, if you're deploying it on domain differently, the main landing point of your application is what we're going to set up now. And to do that, we have to just use a slash. Nothing attached to this. So this slash indicates that this is the main point. And I will show you this, where this maps to as we run our application, when we run our application. But let's first configure this. So we're going to set the elements. So element property actually is what maps our components, which in this case is the home component. And you have to make sure this is imported. Please make sure it's imported up here. And then it maps our home, our slash, which is where we're going to land whenever we start our application. The local host, when we start our application, where we land is going to map it to the home component. Then we're going to put in the next one. So the next route is going to be the path of, let's say, dashboard. So it's going to be slash dashboard, right? And be careful with the capital letters, right? And then we're going to map it to our dashboard component. All right, again, make sure this is important above. And then I'm going to close this. All right, now the next component is our, forgot the bracket, is our path of about us component. Okay. Yeah, let's leave this about us. Let's leave us about. So element with the about us route. And then this is going to be about. Again, make sure it's imported. Above. And then again, why do I keep forgetting my bracket? Then we're going to import our finally settings. I believe that's the last one. Yeah, it's the last one. Settings route. So we're going to have a settings route, for users to do their settings. And we're going to map this to our, you guessed it, settings component. All right. And we're done. Now we can start up our application. Now, as you recall, we created several folders. So in order to start up this application, we have to step into this direct directory. Wow. So we're going to say cd. Okay. We're going to say 01 hyphen react hyphen router hyphen tutorial. It's a lot of hyphen. Okay, now we're in that directory. We're going to say npm run dev. Right? All right, it's loading up. And boom. If you notice something, we're in our local host right here. This is where the application lands. And we've got our welcome home component, as you can see. Now, remember, if you're using normal React, you have to just render this component in your app to see it. But now it's actually attached to this route. It's on its own, individually attached to this route. Now, let's look at our other components routes. So we're going to look at the dashboard. Say dashboard. Right. And then welcome to your dashboard. So you can see it's mapped to this component. Then we're going to look at the about us route, which should be about us. What can I say? We are awesome. And that's because we are really awesome. You just created your own route, so you're definitely awesome. Our last thing, we're going to look at our settings. It should say settings. Congratulations, you have successfully configured your route. The next tutorial, we're going to look at React Router link components. Thank you.